911. What is your emergency? Audio. Woman's voice. Distorted. There's been an accident. Please hurry. We're on 4th and Main. Narrator David. That's my wife Clara. But here's the problem. Clara is supposed to be in Houston for a 3-day conference. I'm a sound engineer, and I just realized my entire life is a lie. The first thing I noticed was that my wife didn't look surprised when she heard her own voice coming through the speakers. She looked tired. Not guilty, not panicked. Tired. The rain tapped softly against the windshield as we pulled out of the airport garage. The cabin smelled like wet leather and stale coffee from the cup I'd left in the console 3 days earlier. Her suitcase wheels had clicked across the concrete behind us less than a minute before. Then the recording started. A shaky inhale. Static. Her voice. I watched the muscles in her jaw tighten as the dispatcher asked if she was safe. Then came the other voice in the background. Male. Low. Nervous. Clara. Hang up. We can't be seen here. The fluorescent lights from the parking structure swept across her face in pale strips as we drove upward toward street level. She closed her eyes before the second sentence even played. If the police come, Julian's career is over. I expected denial, or some fast explanation. Instead, she whispered something I still think about almost every night. Not to me. To herself. She said she thought the file had been deleted. That was the moment I realized the affair wasn't the thing destroying my marriage. It was whatever happened after the call ended. Before that week, our life looked expensive and stable from the outside. We lived in a gated subdivision north of Dallas, where every driveway had oversized SUVs and security cameras pointed toward identical trimmed lawns. Clara handled corporate litigation for a private consulting firm downtown. I worked in forensic audio restoration, mostly legal cleanup, corrupted surveillance recordings, accident reconstruction, voice isolation for attorneys and insurance cases. Quiet work. Most nights, the house sounded the same. Ice maker dropping cubes into the freezer bin. Central air humming through the vents. Her laptop keys clicking past midnight from the dining room table. She liked structure. Schedules. Predictable routines. That's why Houston made sense. A 3-day legal summit. Networking dinners. Hotel conference rooms with beige carpeting and weak coffee. She even sent me photos. One of them showed room service on the bed beside her laptop. Another showed rain streaking down the hotel window. Nothing unusual. But Tuesday night, around midnight, I woke up because my phone vibrated against the wood nightstand. No message. Just a location sharing notification that flashed briefly and disappeared before I unlocked the screen. I remember staring at the ceiling fan rotating slowly in the dark while the air conditioner rattled overhead. The notification said Clara's phone had disconnected from shared location services. It reconnected 2 minutes later. Houston. At the time, it barely registered. Now I know that was the first mistake. Thursday afternoon. My friend Nolan asked if I could help process damaged emergency archive files after a municipal server failure. He managed digital storage for the city. The server room smelled like dust and overheated plastic when I arrived. Rows of blinking backup towers filled the dark space with soft mechanical humming. We spent hours sorting fragmented recordings and labeling corrupted metadata. Most of it was useless. Pocket dials. Static. Half-completed emergency calls. Then I opened file number 982. The timestamp read Tuesday, 11:45 p.m. I almost skipped it. At first, all I heard was breathing. Fast. Uneven. Then a sound I recognized immediately. Clara had a habit when she got anxious. She inhaled sharply through her nose before speaking, almost like she was swallowing air first. I froze. The dispatcher kept asking for an address. Clara never answered directly. Instead, there was road noise. Wind. A faint electronic bass line somewhere nearby. Then came the background voice. Male. Close to the phone. Clara, hang up. The blood drained out of my hands. I replayed the clip 6 times. By the 7th, I noticed something else. The metadata attached to the emergency ping listed the tower location. North Dallas. 15 minutes from our neighborhood. Not Houston. I isolated the background frequencies at home that night. My office smelled like hot circuitry and old carpet while the waveform rolled across the monitor. That was when I heard the second sentence clearly. If the police come, Julian's career is over. Julian Mercer wasn't just her boss. He owned part of the firm. Married. Connected. The kind of man local politicians invited onto charity boards. Clara always described him carefully. Professional. Demanding. Like family. At 2:13 a.m., I searched her old cloud backups. One deleted image caught my attention immediately. A mirror selfie from a restaurant bathroom. She'd cropped herself carefully. But reflected behind her was Julian. Not sitting across from her. Standing beside her. His hand rested low against her back. The timestamp matched Tuesday night. 11:08 p.m. 37 minutes before the 911 call. I didn't sleep after that. The refrigerator motor downstairs kept cycling on and off while dawn slowly turned the windows gray. Something still felt wrong. If they were having an affair, why call 911? And why hide from police? I drove to the GPS coordinates attached to the emergency log Friday morning. The road curved behind an upscale lounge near Addison. The parking lot was still damp from overnight rain. Cigarette butts floated near the curb drains. There were no police markers. No accident reports. No evidence anyone had ever been there. Until I walked into the grass beside the road. That's where I found the earring. Gold. Small diamond center. Bent clasp. I bought them for our anniversary 6 months earlier. The metal felt cold in my hand despite the heat outside. A few feet away, tire marks cut sharply across the shoulder before disappearing back onto the pavement. I sat in my car for almost an hour with the engine off. Everything lined up too perfectly. Secret dinner. Hidden location. Boss involved. Panic call. Missing jewelry. It looked obvious. Julian and Clara were together. Something happened near the lounge. Maybe an accident. Maybe they almost got caught. Maybe she panicked and called emergency services before he stopped her. By the time I drove home, I'd already decided not to confront her immediately. I wanted proof. Real proof. So I accessed our shared phone account records. That's when I found the burner number. Repeated contact with Clara for almost 8 months. Hundreds of calls. Most lasting under 2 minutes. Always late at night. The number wasn't registered to anyone. But the location history led repeatedly to one place. A private condominium tower downtown. Owned by Julian Mercer. I remember sitting in the kitchen staring at those records while the microwave clock blinked 3:17 a.m. in the dark. I thought I understood everything. I thought I was one step away from exposing an affair. I was wrong. Because Saturday morning, Nolan called me back and asked why someone from Clara's law firm had already requested deletion of file number 982 2 days earlier. Before I ever heard it. That changed the shape of everything. Not the affair. The timing. Someone knew the recording existed before I found it. I asked Nolan who authorized the deletion request. He hesitated long enough for me to hear keyboards clicking in the background. Then he gave me the name. Not Julian. Clara. She had submitted the request personally Wednesday morning. Less than 12 hours after the call. My office suddenly felt too quiet. Even the hard drive fans sounded distant. If the call was just evidence of cheating, why erase it from emergency archives? I reopened the audio session and started rebuilding the damaged frequencies from scratch. That's when I found the missing layer. A second voice buried beneath the road noise. Very faint. Male. Not Julian. Me. At first, I thought I'd contaminated the track somehow. But after cleaning the channel again, the sentence became clear enough to understand. Tell them he followed us. I stopped breathing for a second. The timestamp on the waveform matched a section clipped from the archived version Nolan gave me. Someone had removed 4 seconds from the original file. 4 seconds containing my voice. I checked my calendar. Tuesday night. I told Clara I was staying late at the studio. But suddenly pieces started surfacing that I couldn't place correctly. The smell of whiskey in my car Wednesday morning. Mud on my passenger floor mat. A receipt for toll road charges near Addison. I didn't remember driving there. Then I remembered the Ambien. I'd started taking it weeks earlier for insomnia. Half doses at first. Then more. Blackouts became possible after enough alcohol. I searched the security camera footage from our garage. At 10:32 p.m. Tuesday night, my SUV left the house. At 1:14 a.m., it returned. I was driving. Alone. I had absolutely no memory of it. The nausea hit slowly. Cold. Heavy. I pulled over twice on the way to the condominium tower because my hands wouldn't stop shaking. That was where the second truth finally surfaced. Julian wasn't sleeping with my wife. He was helping her build a case against me. Private investigators. Audio logs. Documentation. Medical consultations. Everything. Clara believed I was becoming dangerous during blackout episodes. The burner phone belonged to a security consultant she'd been using for months. The hidden meetings weren't romantic. They were strategic. She'd been planning to leave me safely. And the 911 call happened because I followed them Tuesday night without remembering it afterward. Suddenly, every missing piece fit. The deleted location notifications. Her guarded behavior. The secret meetings. The erased archive request. None of it was about hiding an affair. It was about hiding me. But even then, something still didn't add up. Because one question remained. If Clara was afraid of me, why get into my car at the airport? Why sit beside me after hearing the recording? Why look tired instead of terrified? The answer arrived 20 minutes later. We were halfway home when she finally opened her purse and placed a manila folder gently onto the center console. No trembling hands. No panic. Just exhaustion. Inside were photographs. Printed emails. Medical evaluations. Security reports. Dates stretching back almost a year. There were records of things I didn't remember doing. Driving across town at night. Following strangers home because I thought they were watching me. Standing outside our bedroom while Clara pretended to sleep. The final page was a recommendation for involuntary psychiatric observation. Prepared 3 days earlier. Then I noticed something else. The documents weren't finalized. No signatures. No court filing numbers. Some pages used inconsistent fonts. One report listed the wrong address for our house. I stared at the paperwork while freeway light poles flashed across the windshield rhythmically every few seconds. And then I saw it. A reflection in the passenger window. Clara's phone screen. An open messaging thread. With Julian. The newest message had arrived less than a minute earlier. He asked if I believed the blackout story. My chest went cold. I kept driving. Didn't react. Didn't look at her. I finally understood the part they never expected me to notice. The manipulated recording. The edited audio. The fake psychiatric documentation. The carefully staged evidence. None of it existed to protect Clara from me. It existed to protect Julian from a lawsuit. 3 months earlier, my company had accidentally restored corrupted financial recordings tied to his firm. Money transfers. Offshore accounts. Illegal settlements. I'd mentioned the discovery to Clara once over dinner without understanding what I'd found. After that, everything changed. The late meetings. The distance. The surveillance. They weren't building a domestic abuse case. They were building a narrative. An unstable husband. A credible scapegoat. Someone easy to discredit if the financial investigation surfaced. That's why the 911 call mattered, not because of an affair. Because it accidentally captured evidence they couldn't fully control. And then the final piece settled into place. The erased 4 seconds containing my voice. Not removed to hide me. Removed because the original recording proved I was calm. Not violent. Not threatening. Just confused. Which meant the entire psychological profile collapsed without that edit. Clara finally turned toward me as the city lights reflected across the windshield. For the first time all week, her expression looked honest. Not guilty. Not afraid. Cornered. I kept driving another mile before speaking. And I told her something I should have said the moment I heard file number 982. I had already copied everything. Every restored recording. Every backup. Every financial transfer. Every altered audio layer. Multiple encrypted drives. Automatic release triggers. Dead man distribution. The silence inside the car after that felt heavier than screaming. Just tires against wet pavement. Ventilation humming softly. Her breathing becoming shallow beside me. Then her phone vibrated again. Julian calling. She stared at the screen. Didn't answer. Neither of us spoke the rest of the drive. By then, there wasn't really a marriage left to argue about. Only two people realizing they'd both been investigating each other for months. And neither of us had understood the full story until it was already too late. When we pulled into the driveway, she finally asked one question. Not about the recordings. Not about the police. Not about prison. She asked how long I'd known. I told her the truth. Since before the airport. Because the original file I found in the archive wasn't number 982. It was number 983. And that recording began 30 seconds earlier. Long enough to capture Clara telling Julian something she never realized I heard. She said she married me because I was easy to manage. I still remember the sound the refrigerator made when we walked back into the house that night. Low. Mechanical. Steady. Like something trying very hard to sound normal.